Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the Bitcoin price is actually testing this resistance level as we speak. In just a moment, I'll be going over the next Bitcoin price targets to the upside if we can actually get above this exact resistance level. And I'll also be revealing my next potential trade if we do end up seeing a breakout here. So definitely make sure you're watching all the way to the end of this video so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, I really do appreciate it if you could just leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. And as always, I really do appreciate all of your support. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And as I've been mentioning over the past few days on this channel, of course, Bitcoin has been forming this symmetrical triangle pattern, which technically speaking is more of a neutral pattern. So it's not necessarily a bullish or bearish pattern. Now, often these patterns can act as trend continuation patterns, meaning that if we're in a downtrend leading into the pattern, then it could be a little bit more likely that we break to the downside. But that slight increase in probability of a bearish break out of this pattern is not really significant enough for us to really pay attention to. So of course, the best strategy for this type of pattern is simply to wait until we either break resistance or support. Right now, the support for this pattern is coming in at around 41,000 US dollars approximately. And right now the resistance is coming in at around 43.7K approximately. Now, when you're looking at the line of resistance here, when you're drawing it from the candle wicks, right now we've actually gotten a perfect touch point along this line of resistance. And at the time of filming this video, we're still trading below this line of resistance. But with that being said, if you're actually drawing this line of resistance from the candle bodies, that gives us a slightly different story. As you can see, we've seen one touch point along here, one touch point along here, and then we actually saw a breakout, and we've just come back down to retest this previous resistance and flip it into new support. So this is slightly open to interpretation, and it comes down to your personal perspective. But to be completely honest, for me to draw the resistance line like this, I would have to have a little bit of a bullish bias due to the fact that normally a significant line needs 3 or more touch points, and clearly we only had 2 touch points along this line if you've drawn it like that, because obviously the third touch point wasn't even a third touch point. We just immediately broke out to the upside with only 2 previous touch points. But when you're drawing this line of resistance from the top of the candle wicks, as you can see here, we've actually seen 3 perfect touch points right now on the chart. And not to mention, it's technically safer to draw resistance at the candle wicks, because obviously the last thing you want to do is think that this might be a breakout here and immediately enter a long position and then have the price reverse to the downside, and obviously you'll get stopped out or liquidated. So with all of that being said, let's get into the technical price targets for this pattern just here. I'll just quickly get the downside price target out of the way in case we do get a rejection here and actually break all of this support here and break into a new lower low. That would set us up for a price target down towards around 37,000 US dollars approximately, according to this pattern. But looking at the price target to the upside, if we see a breakout above this resistance level, that sets up a potential price target up towards 48,000 US dollars. And what's very interesting about that exact $48,000 price target, according to this pattern, is bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from this high at around 53,000 down to that week low at around 39,500. What you can see here is this technical price target comes straight into the exact golden pocket, which is one of the most important Fibonacci levels here on the chart at roughly around 48,000 US dollars. And also on top of all of that, that's coming in at a very similar area where we've previously found major resistance. So we've got a lot of confluence at that $48,000 area, which is why that is my next Bitcoin price target, if of course we break above this resistance first. And sometimes I get some comments on these videos talking about how I give you guys a price target and then I talk about how that price target is only activated if we break above resistance. And so what some comments are saying is, when I'm talking like that, I'm not exactly predicting anything because we need to see something happen first. But that's how trading works, at least as far as my strategy goes. For my Bitcoin trading strategy, I wait until we actually break above resistance, until we've kind of got some clear skies ahead of us before entering any sort of long position or anything like that. And by following a strategy like that, that simply reduces my overall risk, because of course, if you're entering a long position while we're still within this pattern, there's still an increased chance of us potentially breaking to the downside, but that chance of us going lower actually reduces if we see a break above resistance. So I hope that makes sense for those of you wondering why I say we're going to reach a price target only if we break above resistance. And speaking about resistance, of course, this descending line of resistance for the triangle pattern is not the only resistance we've got here for Bitcoin in the short term. We have this yellow line here, which is the 50-day exponential moving average, coming in at around 44,500 US dollars, and that will act as some short-term resistance for Bitcoin. And then when you're zooming out a little bit more, we've got this massive descending line of resistance coming in at around 44.7k approximately, so just above that 50-day EMA. So of course that will act as some short-term resistance as it has previously. And on top of all of that, probably the biggest resistance in the short term for Bitcoin is this red price range just here, because zooming back out further on the chart, you can clearly see all the way back here towards the middle of August, this price range provided huge amounts of support for the Bitcoin price. And also back here during around the middle of September, massive amounts of support for the Bitcoin price. And obviously anytime we break below a huge support area, that usually flips into resistance. And we've already been confirming that as resistance twice here over the past 1 week approximately. And this red price range is ranging from around 43.8k, so you could pretty much just say 44,000, all the way up towards around 45,000. So that little $1,000 price range is definitely an area that we need to get above before we can flip more bullish. So how I'll use all of that in my Bitcoin strategy is, of course, I would actually like to see a break above 45,000 US dollars before considering entering into a long position, because we have to be honest with ourselves, while the Bitcoin price is still within this massive range just here, we're still technically speaking in a short-term downtrend, so it does become a little bit more risky to enter a long position in a downtrend. But as I mentioned earlier, that risk gets reduced if we see a breakout above this level just here at around 45,000. And of course, that will still set us up for that same $48,000 price target at that golden pocket. So that's my short-term Bitcoin strategy right now. At the time of filming this video, it's simply a waiting game until we actually see a breakout, because of course, at this point in time, it's still a possibility that we see a bit of a rejection here and perhaps a break to the downside. And in that case, as I mentioned earlier, that would potentially set up a short position. And so that was my short-term Bitcoin strategy. But now just giving you guys a quick update on my long-term Bitcoin strategy. This is actually the weekly time frame for the Bitcoin chart. And this moving average is the 21-week simple moving average. And obviously the subscribers on this channel would well and truly know about this moving average by now, because I've covered it quite a lot. And currently we're spending another week testing this moving average, and we still obviously have not seen a break below this moving average, which is very important. Obviously, because of the fact that this is a weekly moving average, for us to see a break below it, we need to see a weekly candle close below it. So these little wicks to the downside don't really matter for as long as the week closes back above it. And I've covered this in a little bit more detail in previous Bitcoin update videos, but for the new viewers on the channel, I'll just give you guys a quick update on what to expect if we see either a bounce here or a break below. Basically, I'll keep it pretty simple. If we see a break below this moving average, that's clearly not too good, and we usually stay bearish for quite some time. Like for example, that 2018 bear market, that's obviously one of the more extreme examples. Another example is perhaps towards the end of 2019. We stayed bearish for roughly around 3 months, give or take, before we started breaking back above it. And then of course we had a flash crash during March 2020 below this moving average, but obviously what caused that was a huge capitulation in the stock market when the pandemic first hit. So that crash was definitely unique to that time period. And then obviously back during May, we saw a break below this moving average, and we stayed bearish for around 2 months approximately before we started flipping more bullish again. And so with this potential retest of this moving average, that actually determines what Bitcoin is likely going to be doing for the rest of this year and even in towards next year. Because as I just mentioned, if we see a strong break below this moving average with a weekly candle close below, it's likely we're going to stay bearish for at least a month. But in most cases here, it lasts for around 2 to 3 months on average. But in the bullish scenario, of course, if we can hold above this moving average right here, which by the way, the 21-week SMA is coming in at roughly around 41,500 US dollars. And you can see back here, this was actually the last time we saw a major retest of this exact moving average. And you can clearly see what happened next in the Bitcoin price. In fact, from that successful retest of that exact moving average just there, that was actually during September last year, which is very interesting. Same time of the year, we're seeing some bearish price action into the 21-week SMA. But what came next after we saw that successful bounce was actually a gain of around 550% to the upside. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean we're going to see the exact same 550% gain if we can see a bounce here, but that's just to give you an idea on something that we could expect. Obviously, not that exact same gain, but either way, a lot more bullish price action is still to come for Bitcoin if we can actually hold above this moving average. That is the important thing to remember here. And just taking a really quick look at the Bitcoin order books across all of these exchanges, they haven't really changed that much since the last few days on the channel, so I'm just going to keep this really quick. The main thing to take away from the Bitcoin order books right now is the huge amount of buy orders towards 40,000 US dollars. Now, in my last couple Bitcoin update videos on the channel over the past few days, these huge amount of buy orders were actually coming in towards around 39,500 US dollars, so just below 40k. But right now, they're actually coming in at around 40,700, nearly 40,800 is where they're actually beginning. So basically anywhere below 40,800 US dollars per Bitcoin. We've got a lot of support for Bitcoin below that level just there in the form of these buy orders orders. So obviously that is a bullish sign moving forward for Bitcoin. And right now in the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we've actually plunged further into extreme fear. We're right now sitting at 20 on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. And just quickly looking at the historical values for this Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, the last time we actually dropped to these sort of lows was all the way back here during July. On the 22nd of July, we actually hit 21 on the Fear and Greed Index, which is obviously only one more than what we're at right now. And then the day before that, on the 21st of July, we hit 10 on this Fear and Greed Index. So obviously quite a bit lower than what we are right now. But just remember those dates around the 21st to 22nd of July. And just checking out the Bitcoin charts on the daily time frame here to take a look at where we were on the 21st and 22nd of July. I kid you not, we were actually sitting right at this exact bottom as we were seeing a small bounce to the upside. So this first green candle at the exact bottom, that was on the 21st of July. And the very next day, obviously the second green candle just here, that was the 22nd of July. So just keep that in mind as well. The last time the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index was at these values, the Bitcoin price was reaching a major market bottom before a lot of bullish price action came next. So yes, in the shorter term, there's still technically speaking a possibility of a little bit more bearish price action, but that's just looking in the shorter term considering the current trend. If you're looking in the slightly longer term, there's a lot of bullish factors that are still playing into Bitcoin at the moment, such as this Fear and Greed Index, because obviously while everyone is fearful in the market, that's usually the best times to accumulate. Obviously that's not financial advice, that's just a part of my Bitcoin strategy, and over the years that has worked out very well. And if you want to get extra Bitcoin updates just like this throughout the day and all of this extra content in real time, make sure you're following me over on my Twitter to stay up to date at all times in the market. And of course, the link to my Twitter is in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this video or got something valuable out of this video, make sure to drop a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this one. And considering the amazing opportunity that we are in right now, there's seriously never been a better time to share these videos around with your friends, because the last thing you want to do is get your friends involved in crypto after we've already seen a lot of bullish price action, because seriously, the best opportunities in the market come during the bearish times. So there's also never been a better time to stay active in these markets. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.